Hello and welcome to the LFC Agenda. I'm your host for today's episode, Mr. Samuj, and we're coming to you after the World Cup final, which is taking place in New York between Argentina and Spain. So we're going to have a bit of a review of the World Cup, specifically the Final Four as well. We're going to touch very briefly on the fallout from the semi-finals going into the final weekend. And we're going to do a bit of a review of the week. I think that's your hint as there are members of this podcast that have a lot to get off their chest. Hence why I'm having to go back to last Tuesday and Wednesday to do Final Four as an overall. But we'll do that. We'll have a review of the tournament, as well as touching on a few LFC topics as well. And we will also be talking about the very sad news about the passing of Kevin Keegan. And to go through all of that tonight, I am joined by Mr. Drew.
Bonjour.
And I'm joined by JSS.
Hola.
I was going to say, we were going for Spanish today, surely.
Probably should have been Spanish. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. The French are fourth. Oh, no, that's
Exactly.
Gracias, mate. Gracias.
Not the
There you
fourth.
go. Gracias. Brilliant. Thank you to all our watchers on YouTube. Feel free to share comments. We'll be very interested to know your thoughts on the World Cup now that it's finished. 104 games just gone, just like that. What are we going to do for the next, I think it's about 29 days. Oh, no, 32 days, I beg your pardon, until the Premier League is back at least. So we'll be talking about pre-season and whether really, do you train into it or do you just let it go past you? We're going to get straight into it. And before we talk about the World Cup and review the weekend and the last week of football, I do want to pay a tribute to Kevin Keegan. And very sad news. I think just under 2 months ago, we were hit with back-to-back sad news, unfortunately, about Kevin Keegan's diagnosis, as well as Kenny Dalglish, who inadvertently posted his diagnosis. But again, I think within about 24 hours or even less between the two, and then as well as hearing about a cancer scare from John Barnes. So we pray and hope that John Barnes and Kenny Dalglish are getting the treatment that they're getting. But unfortunately, Kevin Keegan succumbed to that treacherous disease, cancer. Kevin Keegan, I think legend, we use the word legend so often in so many things. This person's legend, that person's legend. Kevin Keegan is undoubtedly a football legend, and he's undoubtedly a Liverpool legend. He paved the way in the 70s under the great Bill Shankly for what was to come during Liverpool's golden era, and he made that number 7 shirt very iconic. Previously, the number 9 used to be an iconic Liverpool shirt, but Kevin Keegan revolutionized and changed that. He played 323 times for Liverpool after joining from Scunthorpe and scored 100 goals in that time. And he had a trophy-laden career with, and this was just over 7 years, I believe, 3 league titles, Liverpool's first European Cup in Rome, 1 FA Cup where he scored the winner in the final, as well as 2 UEFA Cups as well. So a real linchpin of the Shankly era going straight into the Bob Paisley era. After that, he moved over to Hamburg, who were European giants at the time. So, like I said, Liverpool had just won their first European Cup, but the Germans in the early 70s and mid 70s were definitely the stronger teams. You know, the Borussia Mönchengladbach, of course, Bayern Munich, and Hamburg were absolutely up there. And he went on to just go to new heights. He won the Ballon d'Or in back-to-back years, 1978 and 79. And you know, considering how many discussions we have about the Ballon d'Or and how big it's, well, because it's been, you know, media sensationalized in the last couple of years. But think about that. He's the only Englishman to win the Ballon d'Or twice. Can you imagine if any of these current England players won the Ballon d'Or once, let alone twice? You know, that's the reverence that we should be giving to him. He also got 63 caps for England and scored 21 goals and was captain for about half of those, 30 odd caps as captain, again, in that 70s era. And I mean, I wasn't around, you gents weren't around, but I think Kevin Keegan is genuinely regarded as pretty much one of the best players, certainly of the 70s into the early 80s. We then, you know, he played a few different teams, and for maybe more of our generation, we probably remember him as a manager of that great Newcastle team in the mid 90s, including coming to Anfield for those great games where the 4-3s, the Stan Collymore winners, and you know he's there on the edge, and you know taking Man United all the way as well in the mid 90s with Newcastle, with probably one of the most famous managerial press conferences. It's one of my dad's favorites. I would love it. I would love it if we beat them. So he's got his his legacy as a manager as well. He also managed Manchester City into their new era. This is even pre the takeover. Well, a couple of years before the takeover, but managed them in the Premier League and at Main Road, just as they were getting ready to move into the City of Manchester Stadium following the 2002 Commonwealth Games. And he was also, for a brief time, the England manager as well. I do remember Kevin Keegan as the England manager. It didn't necessarily go that well, and I think he was part of that late 90s where actually it was quite a lot of chopping and changing after Terry Venables. Glenn Hoddle came in for a bit. Kevin Keegan, unfortunately, legacy's legacy. He was in charge when during England's final defeat at the old Wembley Twin Towers. I think Didi Hamann scored the winner in that game, 1-0. I think. I'm a little bit young, but I
remember that match.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes.
From
long range free kick, it should never have gone in.
It was long, exactly. Should never have gone in. But yeah, unfortunately, not a poor Euro 2000 as well. Kind of sealed the deal, but he managed the country that he played for as well. I hope I've done Kevin Keegan's legacy justice. Like I say, widely regarded as one of the best British, but not even just British players, one of the best players on the continent in the 70s and certainly in the second half of the 70s. Gents, anything you'd like to add, Mr. Drew?
Super thorough. I, like both of you, didn't get a chance to see him playing or don't have memories of him watching him, but the fact that he was able to achieve those 2 Ballon d'Ors and really become one of the, I guess, standard bearers for players who would move abroad and become super successful. That makes him a trailblazer as a footballer. And we all talk about Kenny Dalglish as being the greatest Premier League player, but got to remember the amount of consternation and angst amongst Liverpool fans prior to him coming in, and that's because he was going to replace a man who many people at the time would have considered the greatest Liverpool player. So that tells you a lot about his standing. And then also, I just like the fact he was so fun. He just got involved in a lot of stuff. He was at some point, I'm pretty sure he had a single out on a chart. So he was a pop star as well. He was a sex symbol. You look back at the footage of him, with the perm, and he very much embodied the I guess the spirit of 70s sex symbols in football at the time. So he was very much a cultural icon as well. So he put all those things together, and you are talking about a certified legend. So may he rest in peace.
And it's funny you say that. Like you say, Liverpool recently did their greatest 100 greatest players. Kevin Keegan came in 14th, which I think is testament to, like you say, everything that came after him. Because actually, I think apart from maybe Callahan, I think there's only one other player after him that played before him. So like you say, when he left, Keegan was absolutely regarded as pretty much the greatest Liverpool player at the moment. And it showed. Kenny Dalglish had really, really big boots to fill. They just won the European Cup. He made this big move to Germany. And like you say, trailblazer, like now we get, the Jude Bellinghams, the Harry Kane's playing abroad. That was really unheard of. And he went out there, he was successful, won Bundesliga titles, came back to England. So I think you're absolutely right when we talk about that.
Also, I don't know if you guys saw the interview with him. Maybe, well, it must have been when he was just leaving. But I saw it on social media today. I hadn't watched it before. But he's essentially being quizzed on his motivations for moving to Germany. And he was pretty transparent about it. He had the opportunity to financially take himself to a different level, plus on a sporting level, improve his standing. And he made no apologies for it. And I love the fact that, he would have been, what, mid-20s? I imagine at the time. Very, very firm and clear on his motivations and views. And it's really easy for people to chuck labels at footballers. Today we see it a lot, right? You're money grabby, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
And that was leveled at him. And he took that and made a success of his time. And yeah, much credit to him for doing so, and also for everything he did post his playing career. Even if it wasn't always successful, he applied himself 100%. And with maximum passion, as we saw at Newcastle as well. Really entertaining time battling Fergie for that title back in the 90s. Never forget that.
I must say, my first memory of Keegan was actually when he retired as a footballer from Newcastle. I was young at the time. I would have been about 6, 7 years old, but I didn't really know too much about football. I'm thinking, who is this guy? Why did they make it? It just shows you that he was bigger than football, at least in England at that time. And then I used to see him like on things like Blue Peter and Record Breakers or Question of Sport. But I'm thinking like, who is this guy? Like, what? I didn't know. It wasn't. Now you can Google stuff, but if you didn't know, you didn't know, right? And my parents weren't really into football, so I couldn't ask them. So I had to find out. Just only when I got like a history of Liverpool, like a LFC VHS, that I kind of really got to know who he was, and I started paying more attention to him. And when we were going for the Souness years, I was thinking maybe we should get someone like Keegan or John Toshak, who was managing a Deportivo La Coruña or Sociedad at that time, right? I said maybe get those whatever. And obviously it didn't quite work out. And I remember following his journey. Like, I used to love that Newcastle team when they were in the championship and coming up. I used to love
them. Got them promoted. I
absolutely loved it. So even when we used to lose to them, I didn't. The only time we've lost to them actually felt a problem was when Andy Cole scored a hat trick. That was really, really bad. But other than that time, I didn't mind it so much. And I remember clearly my memory. The most vivid memory of him would have been in October 2000. That was the day of my older sister's wedding, and I was in Uganda, and there's no way we watching the match. I'm thinking she chose it, and England were playing a German that did the Herman game, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't watch the game. Obviously, my sister's wedding, I can't not. Do you know what I mean? I have to find a way, right? So the reception was in the Sheraton. So I'm trying to find a way to watch the match. I didn't get to watch the match, but I could see that on the screen there was like England lost. Then I'm thinking, then I see next on a thing said Kevin Keegan resigned. So I'm thinking, what's happened? I didn't understand it. So literally I spent the whole of my sister's wedding trying to find out why he resigned. So it was bad. But may he rest in peace. Lived a full life. And he had no real enemies in football as well. That's the thing. So none of the players he managed has got beef with him. He had beef with Fergie, but that was more of a sporting beef. It wasn't like animus. So man, he lived a good life. He did it all. So
can I just ask, is your sister aware that your greatest memory of her wedding day was Kevin Keegan resigning?
I didn't say that. I said my greatest memory of him.
Good save.
It's all about the
wordplay. Absolutely.
That was admirable. Great save.
Thank you.
And just to wrap up, Kevin Keegan was also, when the English Football Hall of Fame opened in 2002, he was one of the inaugural people that was added in there, alongside the likes of Bobby Moore, etc. So that shows you the reverence. So rest in peace to Kevin Keegan, and may his legacy live on. So let's wrap up the World Cup. The last time we spoke, gents, was just before the semi-finals. So we're going to very briefly, and I'm looking at one of you in particular, very briefly look at the Final Four as a whole picture. We're going to talk about the final. I'm going to talk about the ramifications after that. But if you're living under a rock and you missed the World Cup final, which felt like the longest World Cup final ever, with the build-up, the late kickoff, the halftime, going into extra time, etc. Spain beat Argentina after extra time 1-0 with the winning goal from Ferran Torres. After the game was quite, I hope I'm not misspeaking, that was a very one-sided game, very dominating performance from Argentina.
Hugely.
Yes, it was. But there was still tension.
Horrid game.
It was a horrible game, which kind of brought the tension into it, because you're just like, well, the longer it stays 0-0 and 1-0, like something might happen. And then Argentina's tactics, we will absolutely get onto that. But yes, Spain, congratulations to them. They won their second World Cup now, following their 2010 triumph. Mr. Drew, you've kind of already alluded to it, but how did you enjoy the game and the spectacle of the World Cup final?
Spectacle, I'll give 3 out of 10, because I do like to see a bit of a ding dong. And if it's a final, I want to see, there's genuine competition there. It just felt like an inevitable conclusion. I say that, But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh my God, it'll be so Argentinian for them to just absorb all this pressure and just take hit after hit with Spain not really, testing the goalkeeper properly, and then they strike back. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Look, it's a final, so you always appreciate the tension of the match. It was very close. Well, the closest thing I can compare it to was the Brazil-Italy, where that was 0-0 and ended up going to penalties. Except that was really turgid. This was more just like lack of quality in the final third from Spain, and just overall lack of cohesion and will to play football from Argentina, which is a shame given they've got the best player in the world on their side, supposedly. But justice in the end is what I'd say. Justice. If it had gone the other way, I would have been sick as a parrot, but not quite as sick as I was after England's defeat to Argentina.
JSS, your thoughts on the final and the spectacle, the occasion, the game.
The game terrible. The spectacle, that halftime show. My goodness, Ronaldinho, what the hell were you doing? What the hell were you doing? I can understand Madonna making a fool of herself because that's what she does, right? Fair enough, right? But they look. What were they doing? Crazy.
The most disappointing thing because Madonna came out with Ronaldo and Ronaldinho on either arm, right?
Yeah.
And the most disappointing aspect of it is they had no rhythm. And I've seen Ronaldinho before doing his beach moves and doing his celebrations, and his rhythm completely deserted him. And then you got Ronaldo, who looks like three Ronaldos into one.
Exactly.
It was very disappointing. And then their cheap tracksuits too. So very disappointing.
Do you know what made me laugh so much? Ronaldo seemed so happy to be there. Like he won a raffle.
Well, I'm sure when he looked at his bank account the next morning, he felt like he won a raffle. So.
And it shows you how bad it is, where the highlight of that was Justin Bieber. I never thought I'd say that because he was the only one that thought, okay, fine, you know what? At least it's something.
You rated Biebs. I thought Biebs was low energy. I mean, I'd have to turn Wayne Rooney.
They said, for me, sometimes low energy doesn't mean bad.
Fair.
I was pro Shakira and Burna Boy.
Well,
came through.
Anyway.
Well,
what there was. What is Shakira doing there? Like, I don't understand why. Whenever we have like an African theme thing, why is she there? I don't understand it.
You know what? I really, really detest the 2027 World Cup song for reasons that I'm not going to get into on this podcast.
Likewise, I think we're on the same page here.
Waka Waka.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please, don't even repeat that.
Don't even.
Did you think this was Waka than Waka Waka?
No, I thought this.
You're taking
this Waka. That's good. I thought the song. Do you know what? It's interesting because I've not watched every single game, but because I've heard it in the background right before every single game, it's just so ingrained into my head now that I actually think it's a good song. Like I've heard it nearly.
It's worked.
Time. It just worked by the end of it.
Hypnotism.
Yeah. Should we?
It is a good song.
Let's touch on the game, but then I'm going to touch more on after the game. Like,
sorry.
With the game itself. JSS, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. With regards to the game.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I was very disappointed in Argentina because obviously we all know Spain are a better team. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all expect Spain to suffocate them with possession. That's what they do, right? That was not a surprise to us. But I expected Argentina. Argentina didn't come with the attitude of we're going to play football. They came with an attitude that we're going to spoil it and rough up, and that's just disappointing. Because I'm thinking to myself, how often are you going to get this chance? Just go out and do something. Because everyone can see his game plan was not going to work, and had it worked, it really would have been a tragedy for football. Really. And when we got to extra time, that's when I started to get worried for Spain, because I'm thinking to myself, do you know what? This Argentina team just needs one chance.
Yep.
You know, and they almost got an equalizer.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I really, and also the goal that was disallowed, that was soft. Yeah.
The
Williams goal.
Oh, Williams. Sorry. Yeah.
That was That was something, and,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, oh, here we go.
It was
Wait,
disallowed
wait,
because
wait.
of a Marino foul.
But then,
apparently. Yeah.
yeah, I know the reasons why, but I'm thinking, for me, I look at that the same way.
Yeah,
of
no,
the
no, carry on. Yeah.
I look at it the same way. You know how the Norway goal was disallowed for England. Again, it's a shambolic decision. So it happened in other games. I'm just saying that, right? But it was terrible. But when Argentina, I'm sorry, when Spain scored, I was more relieved than happy. Yeah, because one thing I think Argentina winning it, all the conspiracy theorists, all the kind of stuff, they'll be in full force.
What conspiracy theorist?
No,
we watched the same game.
not the conspiracy theorists here. No, you're neutral. But I'm just saying other conspiracy theorists, right? Lesser men than yourselves, of course. Okay. They'll be all in my timeline, blah 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 blah. And I just thought, you know what? Just for everyone's sake, and also for the sake of football, because we don't want to inspire other teams to do. Oh, let's do an Argentina, see how far we can get to. No. So that in the end, it was a long-winded way of just saying best team won, and yeah.
Did you enjoy it,
everything
Sam?
done.
Did you enjoy it, Sam? Did you prefer the game or the antics afterwards?
Oh man, the game itself, yeah, awful game. And I think Argentina, yeah, they didn't come to play football. They brought the level down. You know, we're going to talk about the fouling and the tactics and the slowing the game up. But no, it was very anti-football. And you know what? I'm not one of these football snobs that thinks, oh, anti-football, you know, awful. Because sometimes it's a means to an end. I don't think that should be in a World Cup final or like a Champions League final, for example. Because even Mourinho will go to a Champions League final, he's going to play, you know, and he's, you know, the king of, you know, anti-football, as it were. So no, I was very, very disappointed because I think you've got into a World Cup fight, just go for it. Like, just go. They had no shots on target until after Spain had scored. They had no shots for the 90 minutes, and that's
wasn't it like 20-0 in terms of shots?
It got to that point before they had their first
until 117 minutes.
Yes, because they were in panic mode essentially. Just throwing
back.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm glad for the result, and I think ultimately, broadly, after a World Cup, the best team tends to win, and I think Spain absolutely were the best team, and I think we're going to talk about their dominance.
And does anybody remember the 1990 World Cup final?
I don't, having been born in 1992
against West Germany.
So, yes.
Yeah, and that's another occasion where England.
Yes, yeah.
Not want to try, but should have been that final and would have won it. I'm pretty sure.
That was the last time I cried at football when England lost to West Germany.
You're hardened to it now.
I'm hardened to it. That's what I'm saying. I've seen this movie many times before.
Yeah.
Every time it's always the manager's fault.
Yes, we will come on to England shortly. Don't you worry. Do not worry.
Come on, when's the Tuchel episode? We need it.
It's a standalone at this rate. But no, congratulations to Spain. Again, we don't really need to talk too much about the game because they dominated. They were lacking that quality in the final third. I think Yamal didn't have the tournament that he wanted. He came into it injured, and I don't know if you're watching the BBC coverage. They compared his minutes to Messi's, and he's done about 6 times the amount of minutes that Messi's done for the same age, up to 19, which is scary. I think Messi done just over 2,000, and Yamal's on something like 9,000. I think it's either 7,000, 9,000, whatever it is. That's a lot. So I think we need to also actually bear in mind that Yamal, we may not see him playing into his late 30s. Put it that way.
Yeah, Michael Owen situation.
Michael Owen situation, exactly. Jack Wilshere, plenty of examples of
R9.
Some of these youngsters.
He's basically clock football now, isn't he? Apart from not winning the Champions League yet.
Yeah, apart from
not winning. Then he hasn't clocked football then.
Yeah, so apart from that, a small matter.
Almost.
He hasn't got a Ballon d'Or either. He needs to win a Ballon d'Or.
He also
he's slacking.
He didn't
19
have
already. Hurry up.
Tournament. The whole handover from Messi to Yamal. That didn't really work out. He didn't really have a great tournament at all. He was lucky to stay on. I think the manager was probably thinking more about the harmony. But when he did make the changes, Nico Williams coming on, I think he was definitely a breath of fresh air. He had the goal ruled out. He was running at the defenders and he gave them really something to think about. And, when the cross came in for the goal, his depth header, just to head it back to cushion it right for Ferran Torres, I thought was a great play. I think that was a little bit not underrated because everyone watched it, but I think that was a great assist. How many times do we see players thinking, "Oh, it's a tight angle, I'm just going to go for it"? But I think that shows that intelligence of Nico Williams, who I think changed the game and gave them that bit of quality up front. But when the game did finish, we saw some ugly. Well, during the game, we saw ugly scenes, in my opinion. We got an Enzo Fernandez red card for just reckless. I think it's about the 84th minute. Again, you're in a World Cup final. It's 0-0. It's tense. You know you're on a yellow. You got your yellow for dissent because you're complaining about a previous decision, and then you go flying into I think it was Kabasi, and it's just like ridiculous. And then some of the antics. Tagliafico then goes down as if he's been fouled. Messi's trying to get Cucurella sent off for. Cucurella didn't even cover his mouth. He touched his mouth. And some of the antics from Argentina, Drew. Surely this is that further shows that the best team won.
Yes, they were desperate. They were trying to get any kind of edge they could to just level it up, even by a couple of percent, because they knew coming into that game they were no match for Spain, and they played like they were no match for Spain. And also, I would say that although they took it to extra time, they absolutely. There's this weird thing when you see the pattern of play emerging in front of your eyes, you think, okay, there will come a time when they're going to try and switch it up or try something tactically different. I was really disappointed in the manager that, much like the team he defeated on Wednesday, he didn't really look to switch things up. That was a really disappointing aspect of it for me tactically. I don't know if you saw the tears in these press conferences afterwards. I thought flipping hilarious. Flipping hilarious.
But did you also notice, when they're doing the national anthems, you see how the Argentinian boys were like almost in tears or pumped up like they're going to war.
Fully charged up.
You can tell they were on smoke from early.
Yep. Yeah. So, and JWS, talk to me then. We saw that at the start. They were pumped up. And you know what? There's national pride. Absolutely. It's a World Cup final. It's a motive. But they went over the line. And the scenes we saw at the end, the game finishes. I've forgotten who it was. Someone runs into Rodri, punches him in the chest. Paredes then he's swinging. He's got his arms around people's neck. Even during the medal presentation, they actually didn't give Spain a guard of honor. They essentially had their backs to the podium and were looking at the fans. Talk to me about those. They were ugly scenes at the end. Talk to me about Argentina's behavior.
You know what? They're like the Millwall of international football. Just a
Drew, clip it.
They are, because they're like, no one likes us, we don't care. Not in terms of quality.
That's true.
But just that whole, because clearly they must know the whole world is watching and no one can be proud of his behavior.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, this is going to be remembered forever. Like, what are you doing? Like, fighting ain't going to change the result. Either way, you're going home as losers. And not loser as in be ashamed of yourself. You tried your best. Oh, okay. You got far enough, should I say. And someone had to lose.
Good correction.
Yeah. And someone had to lose, right? And fair enough, I'm not a world-class sportsman, so I've never been there yet. I get all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, we're all human beings. We all have to take L's in life sometimes, right? And it's like, if a 5-year-old behaves that way, you can understand, but you still tell them off. So when you're a grown man, and also, I don't want to crash it on him, but if you're the captain, and you have the standing, you should be saying to your boys, "Oi, come on, guys, come on,"
That's not how we do it.
Because the captain is the manager, and I'm using the same standard I do for any other team, right?
Absolutely.
The captain is the manager on the pitch. So if he sees something, he should tell them. But he didn't really do anything. It's almost like he co-signed it. Was this premeditated? Was this agreed before? I don't know. It's crazy.
Are you talking about the scenes afterwards?
The scenes and during the game as well.
During the game, he really didn't exemplify at all.
Because usually your captain should really grab them by the lapels and say, "Look."
That's not his style, though, is it?
You're a captain, bro. It's like after the match, when the match is done, I see him in the circle talking to the boys. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you can do it after victory, why can't you do it in the tough times? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the reason I'm saying that is that when you look at Messi, after the Cape Verde game, after the Egypt game, after the England game, at full time, he was literally screaming, crying.
Yeah.
So it meant a lot to him. And he's won a World Cup, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? And he still has that hunger. So therefore, if you have that hunger in you, part of that, you may have to translate it to your boy and say, look, boys, if you keep your heads together, we could get something from this game or whatever. But he never did that. And I'm just thinking, was he co-signing this or not? I don't. It just the whole thing was weird to me.
I think that was part of their tactics. If I'm honest.
Then shame on them. Shame on them.
Anywhere on the same level. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Absolutely. I think it was a shame. It kind of marred the World Cup. But let's talk about the positives. This Spanish has to be a golden era, right? They are absolutely just sweeping up. They won the Euros 2 years ago, Nations League last year against France as well. And whilst they didn't necessarily hit the heights early in the tournament, but as we've seen, they actually progressed really well. It's almost they timed it to perfection because they got through the tournament. They got through even a great Portugal team, and they managed to get that win. They neutralized a France team that we broadly thought, yeah, they weren't going to walk it, but the firepower that they have. And then even taking aside all the tactics from Argentina, Spain suffocated them. Del Fuente it's really hard to just, because we're going to talk about managers, especially Tuchel, and and we've seen Ancelotti came to this tournament, all these other big names, but this final was played between two managers who essentially have no club experience. They did pathway through the national team, and Scaloni, who won the previous World Cup, has won 2 Copa Americas as well in that time, and then Del Fuente, who's now won 3 tournaments in a row. So I think this Spanish golden era, led by Rodri, who I thought was a worthy Golden Ball winner, and sure, that probably increases his odds for the Ballon d'Or again. So this Spanish golden era is reminiscent of the 2010 team in a different way, though. The dominance, but just in a very different way. I was going to say yes or no, but JSS.
I hear you, and in terms, if you look at purely by achievement, of course they're up there.
Of course,
you can. But in terms of, if you look at as you kind of touched on it, their star player really is a DM.
Yeah.
Their player of the tournament, young player tournament, was a centre back.
Yeah. They conceded 1 goal in 8 games. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So there's that. Yamal is gonna get there. We can see the time, but he's not what drove them there, right?
Yeah, correct.
And so, and that's about, he scored a few goals. Marino's coming on, but these are not players that really excite you. You're not gonna go down as, it's like, have you noticed when it comes to the top goal scorers, Spain are nowhere there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they, and I think they remind me a bit of Italy in 2006.
Okay.
Solid, but they just, it's like, when Del Piero, Totti, they were playing, but they had passed their best as far as I'm concerned. Do you know what I mean, right?
They're fully functional in all departments and highly efficient.
If
you're able to be consistent and just be sensible and not piss the bed and follow tactics and do the things that you need to do to win matches, then you got a good chance of winning the thing, which I did.
Yeah, basically. But the first world champions, the first Spanish world champion, that team had that X factor, which I don't think this one has. And I don't mean to,
even without a striker though.
Well, David Villa was
I know they had Villa.
And then of course you had Torres coming on. Torres coming on top the bench.
Scored the winner in 2008. It's true. Maybe the comparison.
And he scored 2 in 2012 in the final.
And 2012 in the final. Yeah. So maybe you're right. There's the similarities, obviously the achievements.
Yeah.
And I don't know who beat Spain in 2 years, to be honest. I'm really not sure who beat Spain.
Germany
in 2 years. No chance. Clip it, I guess. But I don't see it. I don't see it.
Italy.
Pep's Italy. Maybe one of those two. What about Tuchel's England?
If that happens, I'll be shocked.
No, Eddie Howe's England.
Eddie Howe's England. Oh, right.
Do you say Tuchel's England? You're trying to gaslight some people in this podcast.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, I think it's a great achievement from Del Fuente, who's won. I think he won the under-19s, then he won the under-21s, got the full-time job, won the Euros, Nations League, World Cup, and they'd be my favourites going into the next Euros. That's for sure.
How long is an era though?
Sorry,
it's a golden era, but since 2008 or something, they've won like 2 World Cups, 3 European Championships.
It actually extends. I think I need to get the stats. Spanish teams in finals in the last 21, I believe they've won all of them. I'm going to double check that. It's crazy. It is. I think we've become so
No,
normalized to it.
Betis lost to Chelsea in the Conference League 2020.
Oh, you're right. Betis did lose that. So
Yeah.
let me double check. But yes, shout out to all our YouTube watchers. Please feel free to share a comment. If you're listening to this on your preferred podcast engine, please rate, review, and share. And we're going to talk about, one thing. I also want to touch on another stat when we look at the winners. So, we've got the World Cup winners. Only 8 teams have ever won the World Cup. Obviously, we've got the 3 from South America and the 5 from Europe. I'm going to put not an asterisk because, they won it fair and square. But I'm going to park Uruguay to the side because I think the game has evolved in that sense. And I think actually Uruguay are probably in the quote unquote second tier. Of the other 7, 6 of them have won. They've all won 2 World Cups of the last 12 editions, which is really amazing. And they've all won at least 1 World Cup this century. Now, Spain have now got their second star on their shirt, which leaves England as now the sole solo World Cup winners. What's happening? What's happening? So I'm going to give a bit of context. Well, I mean, everyone knows the context, and I'm going to hand over.
So you mean we win the next one? Fantastic.
Yeah, there you go. We're due. We're definitely due. Obviously, England lost to Argentina in the second semi-final, 2-1. We'll talk about the tactics, but I'm gonna cap you, John. You've got 90 seconds. I'm not gonna let you go beyond that because I just want to let speak yet. I want to talk England generally, and we'll touch on the third place.
What's the question? What is the question I'm responding to?
The question you're responding to: should Tuchel have got England to the World Cup final? Time is on.
Okay, nobody has any right to get to the World Cup final. It's got to be earned. That's the first thing, right? Secondly, Tuchel cannot do it on his own. He needs the buy-in from his players, and he needs the players to not just follow their tactics, execute. Doesn't matter what tactics you use. If you want to get all out attacking and your players don't execute, that is not good. If you say going 5 at the back, now England went 5 at the back, blah 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 blah. Just so you know, England when Gordon scored in the 54th minute.
Here we go. Okay? The notes will come out.
Gordon scored in the 54th minute, right?
Yeah.
And then Gordon came off a contact in the 71st minute after the water break.
Yeah.
Yep. That's basically a good 15 minutes before any change of tactics, any change of that. Yep. England retreated from the moment they went up. And this is reminiscent of Croatia in 2018, reminiscent of the Italy game with Georgia. They did that. Now, don't get me wrong. Tuchel did not help himself. Of course, I'm not suggesting he's blameless, but the point I'm trying to make is people are always talking about his substitutions. His substitution more was a cherry on the top. But England, they stopped attacking. They all kind of dropped back in. And even when England did try to attack, I think Rice had it on 64 minutes. Rice had a shot, but nobody was bombing.
No one was beyond him. Yeah,
exactly. And so he had to take a shot, and it was like a P roller. So I think to myself, and then of course, if you're going to go 5 at the back, right, you should not be leaving Lautaro Martinez in the 6-yard box unmarked.
Criminal.
Yeah, because you should. It was John Stones and Edre Konsa. They were the ones, and they're just in between them. That is criminal behavior. Yeah. And the thing is, and also one last thing. I know there's a conspiracy, but that Martinez goal, the Enzo Fernandez goal, Messi was offside.
Yep.
But no one talking. But I can't believe I only realized it today when I watched it today. So
JWS had a full rewatch ready for this, so you watched it back. This is what you came
after you watched it for the 5th time, became apparent.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking that's it. So what I'm trying to say overall is that my overall point, jokes aside, he didn't come to the glory, but the players also have to look at themselves because after they went up, they stopped playing. They stopped. I don't know what the stats are, but the passing stats to each other was ridiculous. They just
about 30 passes. And they went down to 12% possession from.
Just what I'm saying. So when I just as I was talking about Messi, about sometimes the captain needs to come and say, guys, what we're doing. Somebody doesn't have to be Harry Kane, but somebody, Declan, whoever, come and say, guys, look, let's come out, let's push out. That's what they'll do that for their club teams. When they're on the club team, they'll do that, but they just froze. And I think it's an English mentality thingy. And I'm sure we can get Pep Guardiola, we can get Jurgen Klopp. The same thing will happen unless the mentality changes. How that changes, I don't have the question. I don't have the answers. But I've seen it for way too long. I've seen it for decades now, and I'm an old man, so that's what I'll say.
Well summarized. I agree.
Thank you.
And actually, even on the first goal, Anderson gets drawn to double up on Messi, which creates the space for Enzo to have a shot. Bellingham realizes, but he's 15 yards away. He tries his best, but he's too far out. And the annoying thing is, when you do watch it back, Enzo had 2 or 3 shots before that from outside the box because they were just trying anything. And the commentator, Guy Mowbray, literally says he has another sighter right as he's about to shoot. So again, that's on the players because Anderson gets drawn too quickly. This whole Messi fact, I think Spence had a great game and he had a great tournament. But I think Anderson, even though you know you're the DM and you should be looking outside, he thinks, wait, Messi's 1-on-1 with Spence. I need to go in. That creates the space. And Messi is the smartest player on the pitch. He's like, oh, fine. I'm not going to cross it at far post. I'm just going to pass it to Enzo, who's had multiple shots. So I do agree, you know, but we've obviously discussed offline. I agree that some of the mistakes on the goal specifically, criminal. Jordan Pickford, I don't know how you let a ball in. Jude Bellingham himself, we saw in the replay, said it's in the middle of the goal. It's like, you know, I think Pickford has to do better on that. The defending on the second, ridiculous. You can't let Lautaro Martinez have a free header, 4.5 yards out from goal. That's absolutely ridiculous. But I want to touch on that thing you said. And Drew, do you think, because one of the things Tuchel said after is that there's something in the English players' DNA. What do you think about those comments? And also, I mean, Tuchel in general, but he specifically said something in the English players' DNA because, like JWS says, regardless of what you think of Tuchel's tactics specifically, this isn't new. This is not new. This is not unique. And this is not the first time this has happened.
Yes, but he was brought in to counter this, whatever it is, but we can't label. He says it's in the DNA. This innate sense of capitulation at the key moment. So yes, England retreated. Yes, they stopped playing football. Yes, they started to wet the bed a little bit. But it is on the manager to help. And that's why I put the majority of the blame on Tuchel's head, because it's on him to do what you need to do to change the course of the game. You did have the hydration break to talk to the players. You did have the opportunity to relieve a bit of the pressure up front. Remember how much criticism Gareth Southgate got for not making key decisions at key moments. Yeah, I distinctly remember that he withdrew Harry Kane in the last Euros.
Yeah.
And Ollie Watkins came on, and both substitutions actually contributed towards the goal that put them into the final. That was a huge moment.
Yeah,
huge moment in England's recent international history.
Very good
and as the players caught a bit of let's say a bit of a brain fog and they panicked emotionally, manager did exactly the same. You don't need that many defensive players. You don't need to be persisting with players that are tired. You don't need to be, because we saw Saka play that pointless friendly a few days later. You don't need to be cautious when there's an opportunity to change, or at least try to change the course of the game. And that's why it's like there is people always say there's a way to lose. All football fans hate losing.
Nonsense.
But when I look at how England lost against Germany at the Euros, Euro 96, and also in the semi-final in the World Cup in 1990, which, like you, I was completely devastated at. I didn't walk away thinking, oh my gosh, there's regrets.
Do you know why?
I didn't like the way they played. They didn't, the manager didn't do what he needed to do. Everything was left out on the pitch. Everything was not left on the field by the players or the manager, and that was the most disappointing aspect. And the more I watched that final on Sunday, the more wound up I was getting that England weren't in it, because it was such, for me, an avoidable outcome. I'm not saying we definitely would have won it, but there's no way.
I think we would have won it, but it would have been a much better game for sure.
But can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I hear you about 1990 and 1996. It was a valiant effort because we went to penalties and blah, 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 blah. But I think also in 1990 and 1996, there was an element of, oh, this is exciting. It was almost like, I couldn't believe in 1990 England got to the semi-finals.
Okay.
I was like, wow, it's dreamland, right? And then again in Euro 96, I thought, wow, I can't believe England actually this club. It was almost like a case of we were happy to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think now, because we've had so many near misses, we're kind of like, oh, it's kind of like saying, but the problem, there's almost like what cracks me when people say, oh, you know what, he's brought in to win it. No, he wasn't. He wasn't brought in to win it. He was brought in to continue the progression of Gareth Southgate. And I tell you why. Because why would you give a man an extension to his contract before the tournament?
Well,
Do you know what I
I agree with-
don't try and apply logic to the FA's decision.
Those are two
but-
separate statements, though,
no,
JWS, because you're talking about pre-tournament. We're talking about when he came in on a 2-year contract.
I understand, but I'm talking about when we say this is what he's brought in to do. I did some research. No one from the FA said he's brought in to win it. Do you know who said it, people? Do you know who said that? People on TalkSport.
Of
You know,
course, in the media.
Jason Cundy and all those guys. And then we've just taken, yes, you can Google it.
No.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that, the point I'm making is that we take these narratives from wherever, yeah, and we hold on to them with dear life, and you ask for the source, and then people start looking, oh, yeah. No, the FA has never said that. If you can, please send me the link. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Is
the
that
point
not-
I'm making is that I
Is that
understand.
not a problem in itself, though? England, who
What?
have reached the last 2 Euro finals, they've reached the semi-final in 2018.
It doesn't
World
work
Cup.
that way,
They lost in
bro.
2022 to
It
a
does-
great
it
France team.
doesn't- it-
Whilst it doesn't work that way, but surely there should be expectations for a team that was seeded fourth. You know, they've come in, they
finished third.
throughout.
They're seeded fourth, finished
I'm
third.
going to come on to that question. I'm going to ask that to Drew of, mate, is this the level they're at? But it's also like, when do England get the second star? When do England win a tournament in the 21st century?
When they earn it.
So every single tournament winner has always earned it.
Here's a strange. Yeah. Whilst I disagree with Double S,
Get the job done.
here's a strange thing, right? You mentioned earlier that you're going to take away from Uruguay. 7 teams that won the World Cup. I always find it strange when people say, "Oh, England have only won one World Cup." What? 98% of nations, probably more, have not won a World Cup, let alone or even been to a final.
Don't get me started.
You've got no right to go into the tournament expecting to win it, because if that were the case, you know, the World Cup is every 4 years, and if that were the case, you know, we would have got to more than one final, and Argentina would have won more than they have, and I think actually France would have been clear favourites. And they didn't do it, but they're the best team. I think we can all sit here and say they really had a nightmare against Spain, but overall they put in the best performances across the tournament. But you can't guarantee anything because luck goes into it, timing, all number of factors. When people say things like he was brought in to win it, I wouldn't take them literally, WS. I think what they mean is
not literally.
He was brought in to really come close to, if not do it. They didn't take the risk of bringing in a German manager just so they could be at the same level and put in the same type of performances where it's kind of harem scarum. You just get over the line and you crash at a quarterfinal or semi-final. I know there's a difference, but there's it would have been a huge step to get to the final and change the music hugely. And he also took risks where he was like, and you gave him credit for this, right? Dropping what we saw as key players or some of the most talented players from the squad, because in his mind, he's like, I'm going to do everything I can to get it done, whatever it takes. I don't even need to worry about my reputation or how much people like me because I'm putting everything into getting the job done. And he definitely would have gone to this tournament thinking, yeah, I want to get to this final. I think that's what people mean. We want to be in with a shout. For me, the most disappointing thing of all was it felt like a huge wasted opportunity, and I couldn't say that for any of the previous semi-final defeats.
You go for it.
And just briefly, and I think I was listening off my stats of all these kids. England are also the only team this century England are the only team ever to lose 2 World Cup semi-finals having been in the lead. I think, and I get what JWS is saying. broadly, no one said he should come in to win it, and you have to earn it and all these things. But so, like, does he need to be 3-0 up with 8-9 minutes gone for us to think, oh, right, okay, now we can do it? Does he need the path that England got? Does he need Harry Kane, 70 goals? Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham scored 6 goals. I think there's two things. There's one, what was he brought in to do? There's two, expectations coming into the tournament. But there's also in-game. So as you've gone back to watch it, you're right. We started the retreat a lot earlier. These are the issues, though. Why are we retreating? We're 1-0 up. Where's the bravery? Where's the forward thinking? Where's the risk? And like you said, we've seen it from England before. And when he talks about England players' DNA, and if that's not something he only woke up on Thursday morning, the day after the same fight, that's something he's thought about coming in. He's managed in the country. So in that 54th minute, on that 72nd minute, on that 83rd minute, why are you then feeding into that and retreating and making the negative subs and allowing this to happen? That's what my thing is. There's one thing like, Ancelotti went to Brazil and his remit was absolutely to win the World Cup, but they weren't 1-0 up in the 83rd minute of a semi-final.
Okay, what I'll say to you, all of that, I can't disagree with anything you've said, any of you, honestly. I say that, right?
Yeah.
But what I'll say to you is this also. When it comes to them being 1-0 up, 1-0 up with 83 minutes means nothing because the match isn't over in 83 minutes. Secondly, there's one team in this tournament who comes alive after 75 minutes in these knockout games. Who is it? Argentina. We've seen it time and time again. No. I agree with you. But Thierry Henry said on Fox Sports, quite interestingly, he said that, when you're a manager, and the tide is against you, people think you just make a substitution and he changes. Sometimes the tide can be an avalanche. It can overwhelm you. And you've seen it happen to the best managers.
Absolutely.
You've seen it You've seen it to Pep, Fergie, whatever. Sometimes it just goes against you and there's nothing you can do, right? And sometimes the players feel it as well. So this idea, because there's no guarantee, had he put on Rashford or Watkins or whatever, there's no guarantee we win that match. Do you mean? There's no guarantee. And I think ultimately Argentina are a better team than England.
Do you genuinely think that?
Let me explain that.
Yeah.
I think over the whole squad, I would say England have got better players, but Argentina are a better team. Just like France have got better players than Spain, man for man, but Spain are the better team. So I think I don't want to hear about Anderson cost 100 million and that means nothing. These guys are played, and you've seen how when they're under pressure, when their backs against the wall, they're calm, they don't panic, and they break teams down, and they're effective. Do you mean? And it's not always pretty, but it's effective. And I think that's what tournament football's about. There's time to be pretty and there's time to be effective. But either way, you've got to get the job done. And this is where England have failed quite often. That's pretty much what I'm saying. And I think also, lastly, and this doesn't apply to you guys, but I do feel a lot of the time, a lot of the fallout has been because I think, sometimes, when you feel you've been duped or been catfished, rather than admit, I was wrong, you need to lash out, right? And I think people they've been catfished by Thomas Tuchel, and they actually believed, we're going to do it. They actually genuinely believed they were going to do it. People booked us the Monday because they thought parade, people put, I don't know, put £100 on William Hill or whatever, England are going to do it. They really believed it. And they feel silly.
I had my parade spot at Trafalgar Square. I was ready.
And they feel silly that they've egg on their face again. And rather than just admit, shit, I fell for it again, let's lash out. I think there's an element of that. And to anyone watching, if it applies to you, sorry, mate. Sorry. Cry your eyes, mate. But yeah, here's what it is.
Speaking of those watching, we've got a message from AR Mozek. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Hi, we're going to comment to Liverpool in a second, but it says, hi, Mr. Samaj, Drew, and J.Les. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam. How are you? Yes, please make sure you like and subscribe. And who are Liverpool buying? Just Munoz. We're going to talk about Liverpool to wrap up the episode because there has not been a lot of transfer news, to be honest, to talk about. So we'll come to that towards the end, but please make sure you do indeed like and subscribe and also share the podcast. Drew, just to wrap up then on Tuchel, England, and a bit of a look forward. So England's best performances tend to come when they're hosting tournaments. You've mentioned Euro 96. Obviously, the only tournament they've won was on home soil, and the last Euros was de facto a home tournament. They only played, I think there was one game in Rome, but all the other games were at Wembley. the next Euro 2028 is being hosted across the United Kingdom and Ireland. But we assume that a majority of England's games will be at Wembley and or in England.
Should we catch a game together?
Oh, absolutely! I'm putting in for every game. It's a home tournament. When it was France 2016, I was like, right. I went to games in Lens. I'm like, that's closer than Liverpool. So we're going to look forward to that. But with everything that you've seen, and like JWS said, Thomas Tuchel was extended for another 2 years pre-tournament. So regardless of what happened, and I think the fact he's not been sacked yet, and I don't think if he wasn't sacked the day after, he's not going to be sacked now. What are your expectations for Tuchel going into a home tournament with England, with everything you've seen? And also, looking at Spain's dominance, like I mentioned earlier, France, I don't think there's a single player there that's not going to be ready for the next Euros. And they've got Zidane coming in. We've got Pep Guardiola being discussed with Italy. We've got Klopp's Germany. What is when you're projecting to the next 2 years with Tuchel in England, what do you see?
I think, to avoid your question for a second, 4 years. 4 years is problematic because of the lack of strikers. That's the one thing that I look around the Premier League and I'm like, geez, man, it's never been this bad since I started watching professional football. 2 years just about manageable with Kane, I guess. I mean, you say Tuchel is going to be the biggest problem he's got is the mood music, right? And Double S has been speaking about fans being catfished. There's something also about his relationship with the players. So the formula is media times fans times players. When you have a lot of negative feeling and sentiment towards you, and we saw it. It wasn't even masked, right, in Gahey's post-match interview, and then players speaking to some of the top brass in the media to make it clear we weren't happy with the manager's performance. Then you've got the media just having this big pile in, and a lot of it is over the top. And then there's the whole host of players, like I mentioned before, who many of us, when that squad was announced, we were like, oh, hooray, he's his own man. But we were thinking, is this really the right thing to do? And now they've been segregated. It's not a good formula. So under the current manager, if he does stay on, and I'm wrong, because I generally look for trends, and the trend in this kind of scenario is that you're not going to keep your job. But if he does, and I'm wrong, then I would say they're not going to win it, although they are one of the top 5-6 teams in the world. We've seen that over the past few years. There's too much going against the team right here and now. Maybe in 2 years' time, that's a completely different thing. But I wouldn't be hugely optimistic on their chances, because Spain, France, they're just far ahead.
JWS, when you're projecting the next 2 years,
I want to ask, do England automatically qualify for next Euros if they're the hosts?
They essentially have. England will be there basically, because we know that. Okay. So there is a qualifying stage, and then there's 2 reserve spots as well for hosts. So if England, it's not a discussion, because and the way it's seeded, they're going to walk.
Okay, all right, cool. Fair enough.
Through every qualifying tournament.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you know what I think is going to happen next 4 years? Football fans have got memories like goldfish. What's going to happen is once we get into August, everybody focuses on their club. No one cares about England, right? Okay. And because it's not like, you see, like when you're
like us after this pod, we're not going to think about England again. So
pretty much, yeah, exactly, right. So, and then all people are worried at signings now. It's like you're not worried anymore, right? And people just want to make sure their player to come back from the World Cup, and that becomes a pressing thing. And I think, do you know what? I think England will put up a good showing, regardless of who the manager picks, because England, they're actually a quarter-final, semi-final team, pretty much. That's their base level now. It's just the last mile is always the hardest, right? And I think that's the situation. So it's like, if they catch fire at the right time, they actually can go all the way. But for me, it's a possibility and never an expectation. So, and I think quite often we as football fans, we say we're very much realistic of England's chances until the tournament starts. then all of a sudden we get the shirt, we see the adverts, we start thinking again. And it's this, I've seen this cycle 1,000 times. Yeah. And you're laughing because you know it's true. So that's what's going to happen. And then, well, if we don't come over the line, there's an inquest. I remember before it used to be, oh, we need a winter break to play too much football. Oh, that the Tories have sold off all the grass pitches. Oh, we need to play futsal. Oh, there's all I've done for all the reasons. Now we're back at the manager and it's tactics. Who knows what's going to be 2 years from now? That's my view. Long-winded, sorry.
What do you think, Sam? Are you hopeful that England
what
could
do you
win?
think?
They've been to two finals recently.
That's what I'm saying. I think that, like JW says, the last mile's the hardest. But like, I just feel like I'm going pre-tournament. I'm not going to wait for the tournament. Like, hook or by crook, you have to find a way. It's a home tournament. England have been fortunate; they essentially got the last Euros. They're going to get the next Euros. And the way FIFA's going, they're not going to host a World Cup soon. So like, England may not have a better chance to win a home tournament for another generation or two. The players, like we said, Harry Kane's still just about going to be there. I don't think he's going to tail off. That's a 4-year problem. We've got quality throughout the pitch. They've got to find a way. Like, they really, really have to find a way, because there's only so much you can become the nearly man. You know, they're calling England the Spurs of international football. Spurs.
But what about people in Holland?
And I'm going to come on to that.
They could say the same thing about theirs. And let's not even talk about Italy. Let's not even talk about Italy.
Italy, who, they're missing World Cups, but they're forming Euros. Whilst I get that, and I do think there is a hierarchy in the food chain, and I think England have clearly, like we're saying, of those 7, they're far at the bottom.
Holland have been to 3 World Cup finals.
We've been to 3 World Cup finals, for example. Croatia have been to a World Cup final recently, and Nations League, etc. Portugal, Nations League winners. I think England, though, with the infrastructure, and like you said, even minus selling off all the pitches and all this, they still have the football infrastructure that they should be winning tournament. You shouldn't be going 60 years without a trophy. Even win the Nations League next year. Just win something.
but USA have got infrastructure.
Yeah, but they've got infrastructure.
I'm joking.
Not the will.
I'm joking.
Yeah,
I'm being
silly. But yes. That I think, that's the World Cup. I think, just briefly, we touched on it, some of the comments, the players of the tournament. Very, very briefly, what have been your favorite moments from the tournament, JWS?
Favorite moment of the tournament is when Curacao scored against Germany. I also liked it, the equalizing goal for Capo Verde.
Again, yeah.
And I must say, I really liked the slow motion pictures of when I don't know who scored, Ferran Torres scored.
Yes,
you saw the people on the bench, how they were running and like I saw seeing that in slow motion was actually quite good. But I think, to be fair, those 2 goals, Curacao and Cape Verde, that was it. That was, I really enjoyed that.
And Drew?
So I really loved remember how tired we were watching England-Mexico, like late Sunday night, and how emotionally draining that was, right?
Yeah.
That was probably the clearest thought what we would see if England go ahead in a future round. And we actually saw a really dramatic game. It was billed as England against Altitude, right? So I was waiting to see when this Altitude guy was going to come on the pitch. But they overcame that. And then I really enjoyed, it may feel like a bit of a random one, but Portugal-Croatia, that was another late.
That was a good game, yeah.
Portugal just edged up Croatia.
What was that game?
It was 2-1 round of 32.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and do you remember, I think it was Croatia thought they'd equalised.
Yes, yeah. No, and then it was they went to the snickometer to see whether it touched his head.
And that, and I really enjoyed Morocco versus Netherlands.
Yes. That was a late night thriller as well, actually. That one. Yes, yeah.
That was great. That was great.
What about you, Samaj?
You've all taken great ones of different games, so I'm going to talk about the players. It's not usual that in tournaments almost every big player turns up. That's really rare, and honestly, like we were spoiled. We had that Super Tuesday, which we spoke about. Like, I remember I was away at a conference, and I was just like, I need to watch these games because I'm hoping they all perform, and each player did it, and that carried on throughout. You know, Mbappe won the Golden Boot with 8 goals, but there was 5 or 6 players on 5 or 6 goals, and it was the biggest names. We even had the side story of Ronaldo needs to come to the party. He's not doing well. He got his goal against Uzbekistan. You know, I think for me, we don't always get all the best players performing, but to actually get that at this tournament, I think for me that added the je ne sais quoi to it. Obviously, the minnows and the debutants and the so-called countries that were not as fancy, them doing really well was such a positive, and we've spoken about those games. I'm hoping that African teams, we were saying that games don't finish in 83 minutes, but I'm hoping African teams get that memo, because I actually think Africa could have got 3 or 4 in that last 16, and maybe 2
African teams and England.
And England, there you go. So I'd definitely say, yeah, the players turned up, and I think that it makes the World Cup better. Obviously, you want the breakout talents, absolutely, and you want the unsung heroes, but you also want the best players to turn up, and they all did. So I think for me, that was my highlight.
It's great to see also Cape Verde's parade, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was immense.
You know, this tournament, yeah, has been so good for the image of many countries.
Yes,
and
oh yeah, Cape Verde in particular.
Curacao,
I won't say why, but yeah, Cape
Yeah.
Verde.
Yeah,
Hey.
great sight,
Wow.
great sight.
And then on the flip side, Paraguay and Argentina, maybe their tourist boards took a bit of a hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Powered it. Absolutely. Well, that's a wrap up of the World Cup. And again, congratulations, Spain. Very worthy winners. Genuinely, you know, I think they progressed right through the tournament. And what they did to France, I think we all broadly thought the winner was going to come from that game anyway. So, you know, I think we saw the best winner. And briefly before we go, we're going to touch on a little bit of LFC news, as it is now pre-season. The World Cup is finished. We've sat through 104 games, including 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and I think there were a couple 5 a.m. kickoff times. All the games. There was a lot of extra time as well, actually, even in the knockouts, a bit more than usual, it seemed. So we really sat through it. We sat through Burna Boy Shakira right until the end. I think Tom Cruise made an appearance on the final as well at some point. So we have wrapped up what will be looked back on the pitch, certainly, as one of the iconic and great World Cups, I think. And, you know, we'll talk about at some point in the next 4 years that expansion to 64 teams. Hopefully Uganda will be able to find a way in one way or another. And hopefully...
the Ghetto Kids made it in.
Ghetto Kids, there you go. Uganda's represented. That's a good point.
There you go.
Fact, that was my highlight. Uganda were at the World Cup final. The Ghetto Kids were there. And they put up a better performance than Argentina. So
that's for sure.
We'll go with that.
In 4 years' time, though, they need younger talent.
Then we get exactly. Yeah. So thanks for joining us for the World Cup edition. We're going to very briefly touch on the LFC section as we transition back into the LFC agenda full time, not the World Cup agenda. The Liverpool flew out to America for their pre-season tour. They landed in Chicago, I think, on Sunday I think it was Monday morning.
Monday,
yeah. Yeah, it was Monday morning. A very youthful team that went, but also the players that are on long-term injuries, Connor Bradley, Wataru Endo, and Ekitike also travelled as well. A bit of squad bonding, a bit of rehab as well. Jayden Danns, unfortunately, didn't. I think he's pretty much the only player that stayed behind that either hasn't gone or didn't go to the World Cup.
Batic was there as well, wasn't he? I saw Batic.
Batic went as well. Yeah. So
Still,
we'll see. Yeah, somehow, some way. What do people take from preseason? I tend to not watch the preseason during the summer. This is my Love Island era, so I can tune out from everything LFC just to give the brain a bit of a break. We have games against, I believe, Wrexham, Sunderland, and Leeds in America. So we'll be playing across Yankee Stadium, Soldier Field in Chicago, some of these games. So I will keep an eye out on the highlights. I'm not going to stay up and watch these. But what do people think about preseason? Do you take anything from it, or is it just about fitness? Get them back, and then we'll see them a couple of weeks for the Premier League.
Typically, I don't bother with pre-seasons, but I always make a point of it when we've got a new manager, because I want to see what he's doing and that kind of stuff. Because it's like I don't want to get to the first game season thinking, well, what's going on here? I want to have some sort of idea, right?
Yes.
So that's probably what I'm going to do. Like last year, I didn't bother with that because I just thought, well, okay, I know. Well, I thought I knew what Slot was about, but
We all missed pre-season. We didn't know. We clearly missed. We missed
Basically.
it. We missed it.
Yeah. So there's that, and I think I'm probably going to lock in once, particularly once, because I think next week the Dutch boys and Florian come back.
They'll start
So
coming. They went out early.
That's when I'll see, and I think that must also mean Alexander must come back as well, right? Because they all went out. They all got knocked out in the same couple of days, same week.
Period.
Yeah. So there's that. So I think that's I'm gonna lock in, because I kind of really want to know what's going on. Basically, that's just for me. Yeah. I mean, the football isn't necessarily great. I just want to see patterns of play, who he likes, blah blah, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Drew, will you be staying up on Thursday, 30th July at midnight to watch Liverpool versus Wrexham live from Yankee Stadium?
I would say there's every chance that I won't be. My prediction is that I'll find something else to do, even if I've got nothing in the diary. I don't enjoy pre-season because you're not watching actual football matches. You're watching glorified training sessions where the score is inconsequential, and there's like Jay said, you're looking at patterns of play. If it's a new manager, okay, fine. But even then, I'm not like, oh, what can I find out? I'm one of those people that, particularly after a long World Cup where I've lost many hours of sleep, I'm going to be grateful for a bit of a breather from football, because it's not real football. So I guess for me, because when does the season start? Or when's the Charity Shield?
Charity Shield will be on the 16th.
Oh, that late. Okay,
so
well,
15, 16. Yeah, there's a next. They added. Yeah, it's a later start than usual for the Premier League.
Okay, yeah.
Even for a tournament year. Yeah.
I'm not gagging to watch more football. Put it that way, and definitely not pre-season.
Yeah.
Maybe if it wasn't like a tournament summer, I might be. But even then, typically, I don't.
And the Premier League finishes the last week in May.
In May,
like literally going into June, and then you got the Champions League on the 5th of June. Late.
Yeah.
Where are we playing, boys?
5th of June. Then who will we play? Yeah,
we're playing in Madrid. Champions League in Madrid.
Oh, we won it there last time as well. So,
and that's the same weekend as the Monaco Grand Prix. Drat.
Oh no!
Come on, we got a Spanish manager taking us to the scene of one of our famous European nights. We have to be there.
It's written in the stars. Brilliant. On the transfer front, thank you to those that were watching, and we've had a question about transfers. Yes, we've signed Munoz. We knew that coming. Well,
oh yeah, congratulations, Munoz. World champs.
Congratulations, Munoz. We've got a World Cup winner coming back to Liverpool. We'll take it. Take it anyway.
And a runner-up.
And a runner. Oh, McAllister. Yes, yeah. Although he's been angling apparently to leave, but we'll see. Apart from that, we don't have any solid transfer rumors. I've heard a bit about Bacola, about 80 to 85 million. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Like, generally, let me know if there are any massive transfer rumors that I've missed in the last couple of days.
I mean, the big thing to say was that Iraola said that we need new players, as in a lot of new players. Saying that, because clearly the balance of the squad isn't there, and I think we're still recovering from some of the players we let go last year.
There's one thing you have to remember. We have got 16 out non-homegrown players.
Yes.
Right, and our maximum is 17. So we kind of need, unless we're going to buy British, which means paying a tax, i.e. people like Alex Scott, Wharton, those guys. We then have to sell to buy, not necessarily for financial reasons, but just to free up space in the squad, right? So then that's why people like people like Endo, people like Chiesa. The only issue with Chiesa is apparently who wants to buy his wages, because he's on big wages. Therefore, we're gonna have to take a haircut on Chiesa, find a spot for Endo, maybe on loan or whatever, or maybe Tsimikas, get rid of him. I'm not too sure.
What kind of contract did we give Chiesa? I thought it was like a 2-year contract.
No, I think it was 3. Because we signed him so cheap, it was about 15-16 million transfer fee. I think we just kind of loaded on the contract. Hope it worked. I think the club were probably hoping that they were going to sell him last year, to be honest.
Basically,
yeah.
Exactly, and then so that's the situation. I mean, we could, of course, we can get around it in the sense that one of our foreign players are if you get a Katike who probably won't be fit for the first half of the season, so we can probably put in the January registration.
Yeah.
And then maybe do some trading there, but that's still a risky option. So these are the kind of the reasons why it has been delayed, because you kind of need to focus on that, because how can you make an approach for a player when you don't have room from the squad? It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So these are the non-sexy things that fans don't want to hear, but it's what it is.
Yeah. And in other non-sexy news, I think I saw a report on my commute home that a consortium led by former QPR co-owner Amit Bhatia and backed by the Mattel family, who are the richest family in the UK, are exploring buying a stake in Liverpool Football Club, which would take the valuation to above $6 billion, which is what FSG would be very, very happy with. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, that was just breaking this afternoon. We don't know what percentage of a stake, but certainly something that might help to give a bit of a cash injection to LFC. Not that they're poor or anything, but I think FSG have been really clear for the last couple of years that they're not stubborn, or they're like, no, we'll explore options to sell, because they're going to make so much money anyway. They might as well explore every 18 to 24 months. So it looks like we may have a little equity injection from Amit Bhatia. I hope I'm saying that right. You never know, I might bump into him. I bumped into the Liverpool CEO last week before the England game, Billy Hogan, in central London. I'll leave it as that. You never know who's watching.
Did he try and get your autograph?
He did. He asked me for a picture, so I was like, "Do you know what, mate? I've got to go watch this England game, but you know, I've got a second." So Billy, if you're watching, come on the pod. I should have asked you in person. And the final bit of news: Anthony Taylor, who is one of England's most experienced referees, and certainly he had a couple games at the World Cup. He announced his retirement today with immediate effect. Well, it's a bit out of the blue to me, but then again, I'm not exactly in the refereeing circles. And did you know that he's shown the most yellow cards in his Premier League career to Liverpool? So might have slightly less yellow cards next season.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, good riddance.
Yeah. On that note.
Not sending him a Christmas card then.
Yeah.
Or retirement card.
There you go.
His retirement card would just say good riddance.
Good riddance. Although Anthony Taylor, now that you're not a ref, if you want to appear on the pod as well, we'll take you. But yeah, that's pretty much all the news, certainly post World Cup, that we have heard. Yeah, keep an eye out for Liverpool transfer rumours, and hopefully we start making some moves. But like JW said, I think we need to shift some bodies first before we start making signings. So thanks for joining us for the last couple of episodes of the World Cup episodes. With a touch of LFC agenda. Like JWS said, as part of this international nonsense, let's get back to the bread and butter of club football. So please make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you share and like the podcast. Give us some 5 stars, gents. There you go. If you're watching, you've seen some questionable 5 stars on JWS.
Jay went for 10.
Yeah, Jay went for 10. Hey, if we could get 10 stars, that would be great. But yeah, make sure you are subscribed and tuned in ahead of the new season of the LFC Agenda. I've been your host, Mr. Samage. I've been joined by Drew and JWS. Have a great evening. You'll never walk alone.
Adios.
Adios. There you go.